How long had he been rolling on the floor like that? Laura finally found something useful. He noticed something sticking out from under the rug, and looking inside, he saw a sharp nail sticking out of the floor. He struggled, rubbing the rope binding his hands against the nails. It took him a while, as the position was awkward, trying to use the spikes on the ground with his hands tied behind his back. But somehow, he managed to break the rope. With my hands free, the rest was a piece of cake. He even untied the ropes that tied his legs and began massaging his arms and legs, numb from poor circulation. Now he just had to find his way out. The door was, of course, closed from the outside. It was impossible for him, not being particularly strong, to get through that sturdy wooden door. I had to find another way out. By the way, where does the light come from? If I found a place where the light shone, I felt there was hope. He looked for a hole in the room among the stacks of suitcases. This space seemed to be used as a warehouse. And after a moment, he could see a source of light behind a dusty pile of luggage, a small window in the wall near the ceiling, intended for ventilation. He stood up and looked outside, and a flower bed covered with bushes came into view. Can I get out of here? Laura calculated the size of her body and the window. He thought that if he could get his head out, he could probably get out somehow. Please open. Laura climbed onto the pile of boxes and pulled on the bars blocking the window. Luckily, the repairs had been done a long time ago, and even with his relatively little strength, he managed to open it. He squeezed into the narrow space. Only after enduring the suffocating and crushing pain did he manage to escape. As she emerged from the darkness, the bright light seemed to pierce her eyes, but Laura moved quickly. I just had to get to the entrance. From there, he just had to stop Byron, who was disguised as a doorman with gifts and snuck into the mansion. While Laura moved behind the low bushes, waiting for the flower bed. Oh, Your Excellency. I came to see if the girl is behaving well. Roderick arrived in front of the underground warehouse and ordered the knight guarding the door to open it. I've been keeping her at bay, so don't worry. The gentleman, who had opened the door of the warehouse, saying that there was no problem, was left speechless by the scene inside. Laura had already escaped through the window. It can't have gone very far. Hurry up and run after her. Yes, Your Excellency. I'm sorry. Roderick gave the order with a calm expression. The knight nodded several times in confusion, then gathered his companions and began to chase after Laura. And at that moment, in front of the main door of the Duke's residence, Byron was passing through security in shabby workman's clothes. This is a birthday gift for the princess, sent by Marquis Canis. I'll review the content for a moment. The checkpoint officer opened each box, inspecting its contents. Inside were decorations and tea sets. What is this? Asked the gentleman, looking at the suspicious cylindrical box. The manager, supposedly sent by Marquis Canis, responded politely. Oh, it's 50-year-old tea. You can open it and take a look. The gentleman, who was ordered to examine everything carefully, opened the lid and smelled it. Inside were literally old tea leaves. A strong earthy aroma tickled his nose. Well, everything is fine. Please come in. Thank you for your effort. The servant entered the Duke's residence with a proud air, and Byron, who had been watching the situation anxiously, while holding a gift box behind his back, swallowed hard and followed him. Of course, it looked quite different than usual. He had taken drugs to change his hair and eye color, and even had a ridiculous fake beard attached to his nose. Anyway, if they passed this checkpoint, it was practically finished. Only Roderick and Ophelia, who knew him well, could recognize the person in disguise. How could a porter who had just arrived to deliver a gift see the faces of the noble dukes? He was about to enter the mansion with a smile of conversion. Over there. Laura, who was hiding in the bushes, found Byron and looked around. He had to get him to safety quickly before it was too late. And she planned to escape with him. That way, they could always try again. Master. I found her. Catch her. However, Laura was unable to approach Byron and was captured by the knights. The knights covered her mouth to prevent her from screaming and quickly hid behind the building so that no one else could see her. Byron cocked his head and turned around when he heard Laura calling out to him. But he couldn't see anything. The knights had already taken Laura away. Why do you do that? No. I thought I heard something. Let's get in quickly. Now, he just had to enter that girl's room and hide. By the end of the day, Roderick would be dead and his loyal soldiers would take the mansion. If it weren't for the Knights of Weishafen, who had been forced to protect the false emperor who had usurped their throne, Hiram Tobias Vito Pellis, their uprising would have ended in an easy victory. Byron followed the servant's instructions and climbed the stairs to Isla's room. To that senseless hunting dog that was only waiting for him, without even knowing that he had to kill his own father. A procession of workers headed to the princess's room. This was a result of Isla's insistence on inspecting the gift herself. Byron entered Isla's room, wedged between the workers. She was elegantly sipping tea, seemingly completely oblivious to the workers. And until all the other workers left, Byron, who was left alone there, stood cautiously in front of Isla. Father. She called him in a broken voice, as if emotion had drowned her. My daughter, how long has it been? Byron sat on the plush sofa, removing the mustache he had been holding under his nose. Even if it was because of the event, he didn't want to remain in that ridiculous state for even a moment. Arrogantly, he waved his hand, calling to Isla. Without hesitation, she walked over and knelt before him. I hope you are well prepared, my daughter. Now, come to your father. Byron stroked her soft hair carefully. Of course, father. Isla looked at him with intense eyes. It was the look of a predator about to hunt, but Byron simply interpreted its sincerity as a desperate desire for his praise. Because it had always been like that. Yes, well done. You haven't forgotten the promise you made to your father, have you? That you would take the life of that terrible creature with your own hands. Byron said with a frown, as if he didn't even want to mention Noah's name. A girl with no sense of humility insisted so strongly that the time to kill Noah was postponed, so shouldn't the promise be kept? Yes, I will. Isla smiled, resisting the urge to cut off his head at any moment. How could he not hold on a little, after all, after all, he had come this far? At her response, Byron, apparently satisfied, opened the gift box he had brought. He removed the soft velvet cloth that had been placed to protect the jewelry, revealing a hidden space underneath. Beneath it was a silver dagger and a bottle of medicine that he had always treasured. Now, use this sword to finish off Roderick Allen Weishafen. The vial contains a deadly poison, so apply it to the leaf. Could it be exactly the same? It was the day in the past, or rather, the day in the future, when she died. With a gleam in her eye, Isla pulled the well-forged blade from its platinum scabbard. He imagined her slitting Byron's throat. He will come to this room when it gets dark. I called him. In the meantime, rest here, father. Isla spoke with a strangely disturbing smile. It was a smile that hinted at murderous intent. It wasn't surprising, considering that she was about to be killed, that she felt this way, but... What is this so creepy? For a moment, Byron felt afraid, as if he had become an animal being dragged to the slaughterhouse. But he dismissed that ominous, almost instinctive feeling, as if it were nothing more than dread. Just like Isla had felt the same way about him in the past, but she dismissed it as a misunderstanding. Yes, then. I'll hide. You finish your work. Byron smiled and hid in the closet. Wouldn't it be a problem if someone other than Roderick arrived ahead of schedule and discovered it? Hiding in a small space was humiliating, but it was worth it for the glory that would follow. So he fell into the trap they set for him.